Are we live? Of course we're live. People, Deluded, I'm back again. I mean, this partnership would give Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp a run for their money, man. Now I'm playing. Mo, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good, man. Very good. Looking forward to international break finally being over, man. It's been a dull little period for me.
I mean, you're like me, man, in a sense of we've come a long way, man. There used to be a time we didn't want it to be over. Now we want to see our team, man. What have you made of the international break anyways, man? Have you been watching any of the football? You've been keeping up to date with our players, etc.?
In all honesty, no, not at all. I've completely checked out. I went on holiday and stuff as well, and, just been busy with family. And the thing is, I don't know, I'm just not that, into the whole international thing. I just don't care for it. World Cups, obviously, yeah, but... even things like the Nations League, they've tried to inject a bit more interest. I still don't get the format. I've just got no interest in the format.
Facts.
The friendlies, don't care for it. And I think partly because in recent years there's been hardly any Arsenal representation in the England team. Now obviously there is, but even then, it just doesn't get my juices going in the international game. So often I'll just kind of hear someone talking about the England game tonight or the England game tomorrow. I won't even know in advance and stuff. So I don't sit there. I don't watch them. I'm not really bothered. Feels like the most interesting thing to come out of it all is the whole Harry Maguire situation. That's actually what I find interesting. But other than that, and some of the big knockouts, like the teams that have suffered, Italy, for example, Nigeria, those sorts of teams not getting there, that's been a bit of a talking point. But other than that, not into it. What about you?
Same as you, man. You said it all. You said it there. It's really difficult to be interested in international football because I'm not exactly, I don't find myself gravitating towards it. But with obviously Martinelli, with Brazil, etc., even Saliba, you obviously just want to know your Arsenal players are doing all right. So apart from that, I haven't really cared. You mentioned something. I was going to ask you about it. What do you make of the whole Maguire booing thing anyways? Do you think it's a bit soft? Do you think it's unneeded? Where are you at with that whole thing? Because it seems to have snowballed into a madness, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I just I think sometimes, less is more. And the thing is, all of the players, the amount of players, I was even thinking about trying to find them all and retweet, everyone from the England squad that came out and said something. It's mad. Even players that weren't in the England squad.
Trust me. Spurs tweeted about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's mad.
Crazy.
Actually, do you know what? If I was I don't know, if I was inside at Arsenal, and I was being really, really devious and I wanted to play some supremely manipulative mind games, I would have done what Tottenham did. I would have been saying stuff like, "We're with you, Harry. Prove the doubters wrong in the next game." Stuff like that. It's just amped up the pressure on him, no end. And now you can imagine at the World Cup or at the next England game that is played, if he makes a mistake,
it's long.
It's going to be a madness. And it actually should have been a case of the players and managers coming out and being a little bit more experienced about this, in my opinion, and just kind of saying, fans can do what they want. That's not the thing we have in the camp. But this isn't about one man; it's about the whole team. And then just carry on. The way they dealt with it, I think, has just added loads of pressure onto him. And you know what? I do think it's actually unfair. I think Harry Maguire is not that good. He's also not that bad. And when you play for a team like Man United, when you've cost £80 million, when you're, playing for your country and stuff, people find it hard to be anything other than binary. You have to be in the love him or hate him camp. And there's a lot more in the hate him camp right now. The reality is he's an okay defender, But would I trade him with Ben White or Gabriel or Saliba? No. But there's a lot. We're blessed in that department. There's a lot of other teams. Or let's say, for example, when we had Mustafi and David Luiz, I'd say, yeah, I probably would trade him, So he's a mid-range defender and he's been put under this massive, massive limelight. And clearly, he is struggling a little bit. Does he deserve to be booed for performances? No. But why is he being booed? That's my kind of question. And it'd be interesting to get your take on this. Is it because of his performances or is it because of something else that maybe people aren't talking about?
I think it's become a thing where you get into that territory, and I think we slightly had it with, to a lesser degree, but Hector Bellerin and Willian, is that clearly you can have your opinion whether you rate a player, you think he's good or not. But for me, you get to that toxic sort of mentality where no matter what they could do, they could say the sky is blue, they'll get criticized for that. I think that's where we're at with Maguire. Maybe considering, with all due respect to Switzerland and Ivory Coast, there's nothing to play for, and they're not the most glamorous of sides, even though Switzerland were all right in the last tournament. Maybe it was worth just Maguire doing what Rashford's doing, just go to wherever you need to go on holiday, clear your head, get away from football, because I feel he's of that. He's heavily criticized for club and country. I feel in relation to him in an England shirt, I think fans are allowed their opinion. They can boo and praise where appropriately. I think it's a bit harsh because he's never been that bad in an England shirt. He was part of a team that just made the Euros. I do think it was unneeded. I'm with you in the sense of, I do think, not that I blame Southgate or anything, but I just feel Southgate, Spurs tweeting, all the players tweeting, whether they play for United or not, they've made it something than it isn't, because he would have got booed, would have just talked about something new. We wouldn't be here mentioning it. It's just snowballed unnecessarily. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a that thing. Obviously, if the United players that were supporting England, United fans that were supporting England, if they wanted to voice their opinion, they can. But it's just unneeded, and I can understand the frustration because Maguire's probably taken the limelight. You could argue, why is Luke Shaw there? Why is Tyrone Mings there? A bunch of players, but we all know Southgate protects his players. So yeah, man. That's
one thing I find interesting, right? If we were to ask people the question, is Harry Maguire being booed for what he's done with England, or is Harry Maguire being booed for what he's done with Man United? Even though it was in an England game, my guess is that he's being booed for what he's done or hasn't done with Man United.
Facts. That's where I'm at with it as well. 100%.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would admit that, for England, he's been decent. And then the thing that I am kind of like, I just think is silly about all of this is that people might say, don't mix the club and country, yeah? Don't give him stick when he's playing for England just because you might be a Man United fan. And I don't know if it was only Man United fans. Maybe other people joined in. I'm not being funny. I don't care about Harry Maguire. I don't want him to be playing well. I don't want him to be confident and in good spirits in the run into the season. I want him to be shaky and fragile. If Man United fans start booing him, as an Arsenal fan, I'll join in. Every little helps. But the thing is, who opened the door to this sort of behavior where you're crossing the lines between club and country? It was Harry Maguire himself. He hadn't been booed up to this point, but in the last set of internationals, I think it was, or maybe before, he scored a goal for England, and he started doing, I can't remember, was it this? It was either that or it was that. It was something very smart. Something like that. Either I'm not listening or keep quiet or whatever it was.
Fantastic knee slide, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. And at that time, if I ask the same question, who's he directing that to? England fans or Man United fans? Again, the answer would have been Man United fans. So he opened the door to saying that, okay, you can mix England with Man United now in terms of how we interact when I'm on that pitch. Right. He shouldn't have done that in the first place. So he has created this for him in a way. And I don't think fans take kindly to that. If I'm an Arsenal fan and I've got Granit Xhaka playing for Switzerland and he's had a sketchy pass with Arsenal fans and he's trying to send a message when he's playing for Switzerland, that would annoy me. That would get me on the wrong side of the player. And then, I will take the opportunity potentially to get back at him, Switzerland shirt or not. So it was very, very misguided at the time from Harry Maguire and only amped up the pressure on him when you're having that toing and froing with the fans. And you look at his performances since that moment. Has he all of a sudden become, one of the best defenders in the league and gone to Van Dijk levels and stuff? Or has he just kind of been much of the same,
the same, yeah.
Why do that? Why increase the pressure on yourself with all of this stupidness? It hasn't worked out for him. And the other thing that I feel very passionately about as well is that these fans have got a right to boo. I don't think that this is helpful to the cause of your club. If I'm at Arsenal and people are doing this, I will be frustrated by it. Yeah. So I would be really annoyed. Let's say a player struggling for Arsenal and he starts getting booed, because I don't think it helps the team in any way. I don't think it helps them achieve their goals.
If anything, man.
But when other professional footballers and managers are coming out and saying, "Oh, the real fans aren't doing this," or they're saying it's not the right thing to do, it's the wrong thing to do, I take exception to that. You're happy for the fans to sing your name and to cheer for you and all of that sort of stuff. But when the fans want to do the opposite, as long as it's not abusive or threatening or violent or anything like that, as long as that line's not being crossed, they're entitled to do it.
This is it.
And also with that, the fans don't get a lot of opportunities to directly communicate with players. Yeah, you can put something on social media, right? But there's no guarantee the player is going to see that. If you want to get your point across, you know, this is literally the only time you can guarantee that they're going to hear you. So to take that away from fans, no, you know, we can spend our hard-earned money putting banners together and flags and all of this and, you know, all sorts of stuff for the positive side of things. But when we want to convey some negative feeling, that is our right. And you and I know as well that Arsenal, remember the game against Palace away, they got slated as they left the pitch. Sometimes it's necessary to lay a marker down for players as a group of fans and say, we are not going to tolerate this.
Look at Real Madrid fans, you know, how they've even treated people that you would call legends and things. And I agree with you. And that point you made is that I just feel in life there's a lack, and football mimics it, is that there's no balance in that you're either ridiculously negative or ridiculously positive. Now, if there's reasons to be either end of the scale, fair play. And you touched on it vaguely there. And I think it is that. It's like when they're blowing positive smoke up you, nobody says anything. The minute it turns negative, there's an issue. Like you said, life is about self-awareness. As a footballer, you need to be self-reflecting. Of course, Harry Maguire probably knows he's not playing well and things like that. They need to hear it. And for Southgate, you knew this was going to happen, respectfully. I'm not saying you knew boos were going to happen, but you're the manager. You've made a lot of unpopular choices. That's why you're in that role. You knew people were going to say, on form, should Harry Maguire be there? Much less anyways. So you kind of set yourself up for it. I just feel fundamentally, for me, if they just left it, he got booed. It is what it is. You know, we could have moved on. We've seen Sterling get booed. We've seen Beckham get booed. We've seen a lot of things, and people carry on. They've just made it into something and whatnot. You know, for kind of carrying on the theme with Manchester United vaguely, have you seen Gary Neville's comments in relation to Arteta potentially leaving if he gets top four for us, and how that's kind of, more a long story short, that's kind of good as it could potentially get for Arsenal, and he sees him as moving on?
I've heard half of them. I didn't hear him talking about Arteta leaving, but I heard him talking about the fact that, you know, Arsenal fourth is sort of like the best we can do. We're not going to
Holy Grail, essentially.
We're not going to do better than Liverpool or Man City. And he even chucked in Man United in there. As soon as he said that, I thought to myself, are you trying to remove any credibility? Like,
literally, you're just being extremely biased, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got to make sense. You know, like, when you're talking to an audience of that size, hundreds of thousands of people are going to hear what you're saying, millions, in fact. You can't come out with nonsense, you know. And it's baffling to me that he thinks that Man United, all of a sudden, next season, are going to be, above Arsenal, or Arsenal, as good as it can get for them, is sort of not even below Man United. When what they're going to do next year? Throw money at it.
This is the thing I don't get.
Even if what they've been doing for a long time is just throwing money at the team. They can do that this transfer window, but they can't go through enough stages of a project to all of a sudden do something different. That's what Arsenal have done right now. We've gone through enough stages of this Arteta project, and right now it's actually working. A lot of us wouldn't have taken it this far. Would have got rid of him. Thankfully, the board did, and it is working. Could change, but right now it's great. So I think Gary Neville doesn't realise that Man United still have to go through a process. In his mind, I still feel like he thinks it's a flick of the switch.
That and then United rhetoric, yeah.
It's not going to work that way. And also, who's to say that the best Arsenal can do is below Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea, or even below Liverpool, Man City? I'm saying right now there's a chance with Chelsea in European competition and still a bit of uncertainty around their club, there's still a chance Arsenal can pip them to third place this season. I'll say that right now. It's not off the cards. We've got to play each other. Whatever happens in that game will be hugely material to how the teams finish. That's the first thing. And the second thing, him talking about Arsenal, the best case scenario is fourth, even third. In our lifetime, we've seen Leicester go into a madness. Arsenal are much, much closer to doing something of note than Leicester were perceived to be. It takes one good season. And with Champions League football, if Arsenal have the resources to add in certain key positions, well, actually, I think we've shown amazing consistency, amazing home form. We're now much, much better away. When you look at how many games we won away in the first half of the season compared to the second half of the season, all the signs are there. I'm not saying I think Arsenal are going to challenge next year in a really serious way, but for Gary Neville to write it off, especially in light of the mess that was his predictions at the start of this season, come on, man. Learn your lesson and learn some humility.
Do you think maybe I'm being a bit of a conspiracy theorist and Gary Neville, he does have something to do with United, but he doesn't work there? Is it not that Arsenal listen to the noise and they've done a pretty good job of not listening to background noise? Do you think it's a potential attempt to derail us? Because I mean, we're not really providing talking points, the typical talking points for the media like we normally would.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's being that devious in my opinion. But having said that, he has got significant influence. He is talking to hundreds of thousands of people. Even in the past, when I was on AFTV, I even thought, you know what? Like, there's a lot of Arsenal fans that are going to be watching AFTV, not just myself, but AFTV, and they'll watch interview after interview after interview. And if they hear the same rhetoric throughout, then that can start to have some sort of impact. I mean, I'm not saying it definitely would, but I'm saying it had the potential.
Yeah.
So I often thought to myself, well, actually, no, I don't want to jump on the same old bandwagon all the time and actually break up that narrative a little bit to not let it reach a critical mass in a way where it becomes a bit, goes too far. So on that basis, if I thought that, then maybe you're right, actually. Maybe Gary Neville does think that, let me just put these seeds of thoughts out there and see how they get taken up. Yeah.
I think for me, I don't know how I look at Gary Neville's comments, because when I read there's a lot of things I disagree with, but what he said, I actually kind of don't disagree in that. I know Arteta's got a bag of ambition. I know the players do, the way they speak. I still don't know if Kroenke does. I still don't know if the higher powers that be, similar to his, and that's what was kind of hypocritical for me with his Manchester United point, is that, the manager is almost just, the face of it. Managers are almost obsolete. Your culture, everything at Man United and every club has to be in place. And as you said, it's not there. So I didn't understand how we could just say United would be back. Of course, Man United, just because they'll throw money at it and there's certain things that they'll do, they could probably start winning stuff more quicker than Arsenal, regardless of what we're doing. But it was just extremely inconsistent and distasteful. And it just came across for me as a lot of bitterness. And for me, I just think they want talking points, because the greatest talking points I've seen with Arsenal is we're not allowed to celebrate. And now this, because we're not capitulating, and the rest of it, which we typically see. Away from Gary Neville, did you see Pepe's comments in relation to not playing and the manager and things like that? I think it was quite mature of him, personally.
No, I haven't actually.
He more or less said that, okay, I'm unhappy that I'm not playing. I might have to revisit this in the summer, but the manager can't change. Long story short, the manager can't change a winning team. He's spoken about it. And I think one interesting thing for me was he said something about the communication barrier. You would imagine that Arteta has a degree of level of French, but I remember Arteta's press conference where he went on a tangent and he spoke about like players coming in, how quickly do they learn the language and things. And I just got the vibe that Pepe might not play just because he's just a bit complacent. It's like it's not that he's not applying himself. It's just the others are doing so much more. And it's like the spark has to go off in your head to want to do that. So yeah, what do you make of that with Pepe and Arteta?
Yeah, I think I'm really glad Pepe said that, because I think that's bang on. The manager can't change a winning team. A player has got to have realistic expectations. And you spoke earlier about players having some sort of self-awareness. I think that shows a lot of self-awareness about where he is and the environment around him. So yeah, good on him, man. But Pepe is one of those players that I really, really want to succeed. I feel like his ceiling is huge, very, very high. But you use the word complacent about him. He's got that vibe to him. Even it's like I know it's really out of order, right? But we're quite judgmental and we form opinions of people very quickly, just naturally as human beings. Even his facial expressions and stuff. Yeah, he hardly ever seems too animated,
Yeah.
Like he's not a passion merchant, and that makes a difference, especially in this country. So I feel like that complacency, maybe, or that perceived complacency, I should say, maybe isn't helping him. So I don't know. Fingers crossed he can come and live up to his reputation and price tag and the excitement of when we signed him and stuff. But we'll see, man.
Do you think the summer is his Arsenal career over, or better yet, when would you pull the plug? Because surely it can't persist. He's contracted until 2024, same as Saliba, Martinelli, and Saka. We've heard contract talks around them three, little to nothing around Pepe. So that's probably the beginning of the end. I do think if there was no AFCON where he's gone off to, play for Ivory Coast and felt important again, I do think we probably would have had a situation on our hands, because I don't think he would have been happy. I think he'll probably be on the phone to his agent. So at what time do you kind of pull the plug, really? Because on the face of it, there's a bag of problems away from Pepe. I wouldn't force him out, but at some point, something surely got to give, no?
Yeah. You pull the plug when you get an offer that is respectable. I think it's less about you choosing the timing. It's more about just as soon as that offer comes in, because it's going to be hard to recoup anywhere near the 72 million outlay.
Facts.
So I think that's what it's dictated by. And this is the interesting thing about the transfer windows. It's very hard to predict what moves will go on and where a need will arise, for certain teams. So hopefully a need will arise for a team that's got a bit of money, and they'll see Pepe as an answer for that. But I have to admit, I kind of feel like there are options. Like, let's just talk about two. There's Cody Gakpo, which is being mentioned for Arsenal quite a lot these days. There's Wilfried Zaha.
There's Zaha, there's Rafinha.
Talking as well. So I just kind of think to myself, there's just two right off the bat. And why would someone choose a significant outlay on Pepe when they could opt for one of these two for significantly cheaper? I don't think he's really proved that he's worth a 50 million sort of risk.
I think
could be hard.
I think we'd be in a situation where you probably have to loan him out, loan with an obligation to buy and do something around that. And as the players you've mentioned, them and a couple of wingers in the last week, whether rumours correlate to actual things, we've been linked with Gakpo, Rafinha, who's probably going to go Barcelona. So this tells me that we're probably looking at maybe a right winger or a winger in some incidences. Where are you at with needing a winger, man? Because clearly everyone can see number 8 up front, probably the priorities. Where would you be in terms of bringing in a winger?
Yeah, it's third in the priority list for me. This summer, I want, a Granit Xhaka upgrade, and I want a proper striker. Right. Going back to the Neville comments, Jamie Carragher. Neville spoke about what he was speaking about, didn't agree with much of it. And Jamie Carragher, in the last 20 seconds, said something, and I thought straight away I agree with him. I think, in terms of them two, Carragher's just gone up to a different level now in terms of
my expectations as well, man. He seems to be really thorough with his opinions.
Yeah, and I felt like he understood what Arsenal are, and he basically said that what Arsenal need now is the Alisson and Van Dijk signings that Liverpool had. And it's exactly that in terms of two players. I feel like we're 2 players away from not even the best squad or even a title-winning squad, but we're 2 players away from having, a set of players on that pitch that you look at and you think, this is quality.
We're in the business now, Fact.
At that required level. Obviously, as soon as you get an injury and stuff, then you have to dip into players that aren't of the required quality. And Liverpool are blessed in that regard that they have players to step up. Like, you look at Diogo Jota. No matter what people think about him, he comes on the pitch and he makes a difference.
They just added Diaz as well to go with the usual suspects as well.
Arsenal aren't in that position in many areas at all. But for me, the 2 signings have got to be striker and that sort of number 6 to number 8 role.
Facts.
I mean, let me ask you a question, right?
Go on.
I'm going to give you 3 options. This isn't about being realistic. I'm just curious.
I want
to know your thoughts. To replace Granit Xhaka, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Paul Pogba. Pick one.
Well, unfortunately, you know what? I'm a big fan of Declan Rice, but I just feel with Partey, he'd probably be obsolete. Bellingham would be my one because of long-termism and things. I can't lie, man. I'd probably pick Pogba, I mean, I think he's a baller. I know he's got a lot of issues, but I just feel with the French connections, with Arteta, with the lights, I just feel immediately Pogba would help us a lot. I feel as great as Jude Bellingham is, it's very different going and playing for Dortmund, and not really that much different playing for Arsenal, but there's a level of expectation and you're not necessarily going to be wild. I would think Pogba, and I believe that, man. Let me ask you one as well. Obviously, we've been linked with strikers. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ivan Toney, Martinez, Osimhen, and Nunes. Who are you taking?
It's really tough. I'm tempted to say Nunes.
Same.
Because you know, I'm trying to balance up here. DCL, I'm still just not convinced by him.
Same.
Yeah, because the thing is, with that English tax, you're going to pay so much for him. If he was in, you know, the Portuguese league like Nunes, then I'd say, yeah, I wouldn't mind chancing on him because, you know, you'll get a fairly decent deal. But, you know, English tax means that I think that would be way too much. Who's the other ones you said?
Osimhen, Martinez.
Yeah, with Martinez, again, I think, you know, I'd love him.
Arlo and João Felix as well, to be fair. They've been linked with us today as well.
Martinez, I would love to get. I absolutely would love to get because, you know, I think he's a quality player. So he'd probably be my number one. With João Felix, for me, he's not an out-and-out striker. And I think that I'd see a lot of false nine setups that I'm not a fan of personally. I think he needs such domination of a game to play the false nine. And I don't think Arsenal are there yet.
You've got to be like City or something like that, where other people are making the difference and we're front-footed. For me, I think we need two strikers. It's like, for me, like the Nuneses, the Martinez, the Osimhens, they're like what I would say tier one. I think you would be my number one striker. You're playing week in, week out. As you said, you know, they're the guys to transform. But as we know, there's 38 Premier League games. By God's grace, we're in the Champions League. There's more. I think we need a tier two striker as well, more to replace Lacazette. That's where I'm on. If you could do a deal for Ivan Toney, if you could get Rafa Leao, if you could get Jonathan David, depending on, you know, because I look at Everton's financials, you know more than me, but it looks like they're in serious problems financially, the threat of relegation. Even if they don't get relegated, it feels like they have to let Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison go. Neither are having great seasons. So I'd be open to bringing in one of the squads because I know my chest is high. And I know we just spoke about needing the number 8 and a striker, but I genuinely think you need 4 and 2 and 2, really and truly. So I would like 2, really. If I'm honest.
It's just tough though, isn't it? Because, you know, if someone said to me, look, you can go for one absolute gunman, one baller up front, or go for 2 for the squad, I would go for option 1 and get a killer, and then have Balogun, you know, coming off as our number 2 or something, because I just feel like, look, you know, obviously that brings a risk that if he doesn't stay fit, then you wish you'd gone for the other option. But I feel like we need to build a world-class starting 11. And I just saw the comment that someone had written up about, it was Dr. Cryptofen, about Ivan Toney. I don't know about you, but what I've seen of Ivan Toney off the pitch this season with some of his stupidness, it puts me off him. It really does put me off him.
I can see why. For me, it's a thing where I think the second thing where he's like no one exciting or something. I can see why that rubs people up the wrong way. I think that's dry humor. The one before holds his hands up. I just think he's angling to move. I don't know why. There's just something I like about Toney. I just like self-belief. I don't think we have enough of them players that you can tell with every good or bad game it's not going to fluctuate. But I could understand why it would rub you up the wrong way, especially as we've got rid of some.
Yeah, I like what I see from him on the pitch mostly, but I just don't know what I've seen off the pitch. And the thing is, right, I agree with you about the second one, the nowhere exciting. That's kind of like an off the cuff, you know, spur of the moment. You don't necessarily mean it. Like, you know, it's like that self-depreciating British style of speech.
Yeah, that dry satire sort of stuff. That's what I took from that anyways.
Yeah, exactly. But because of what he said before, you should be more careful what you say in future.
Literally.
Had that been the one and only silly comment, I would have been like, nah, it's not a big deal. But in light of what he said before, come on.
He probably would need to be extremely media trained, bro.
Yeah, but look, as you said, DG, earlier, self-awareness. See, that's coming up again in terms of how footballers have to operate.
You're right on that, man. On the topic of Balogun, shout out Human Being. He said, wouldn't these guys get in the way of Balogun's development, or does he go out on loan? Now, I don't know about you, Mo. I hear it, but the reality is, if you're a number 9, if you're a 7, if you're a 10, we're always going to be looking at these players. And as much as Balogun's development, we need to get 3 points today. Now, clearly, Balogun, unless something crazy happens, beyond being a squad player, he's not ready. Like you've seen it at Middlesbrough. He's making inroads. He's learning. I'm not going to get him. He hasn't scored that many goals. It's harsh to judge him, but if I look at his games against Man United, against Spurs, against Chelsea, that's the benchmark. He hasn't stood out. I'm not getting at him because you need to develop. Is playing the occasional cup game going to help? Go out and play a full season on loan for me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I still feel stung by Nketiah because when I watched him in the youth teams, I was convinced. I was saying to people, look, Nketiah, he's natural, just a natural, instinctive finisher.
Yeah.
I could not imagine him playing and not getting chances. So, it's not that I would promise goals, but I would look at him and think, no matter what level he plays at, he'll know how to pick up positions to get chances. And maybe, well, look, now he's sort of not getting that berth in the middle that he's good at. He's often like on the right or whatever. So maybe it's that
5 minutes in that as well.
Yeah, but when he did have his chances, he had a really, really poor spell, and that's kind of stung me a little bit. And I see the same with Balogun, where in the youths he smashes it. Whenever he's playing not at the highest level, club or country, he smashes it.
A couple goals for England this period as well. You're right.
He has scored 2 goals in his last game for England. But when he's at the highest level, and obviously the level is just raised, he has seemed to struggle a little bit. So, look, I feel like it might stunt his development if we get too many people ahead of him. But ultimately, Arsenal have to go and maximise the chances of doing something serious. Luckily for him, I don't think we've got the resources to strengthen the team in all the positions we need to the level of quality we need.
Facts.
Where more than one person comes in ahead of him.
And that's it for me. It's like, okay, if you can guarantee him minutes, fair play. But it's like with Saliba, as much as I might want young players and whatnot to be involved, if they can go elsewhere, play significantly, and then we can revisit it in the summer, why not? I mean, Balogun, I'm not too scared for Balogun. I don't know if he'll ever be able to make it at Arsenal or elsewhere, but I expect you to struggle. You've, like you said, you've been a big fish in a small pond. 23s, you're playing against the same guys for years, 9 times out of 10, faster, stronger. You're now in that stage where you have to think. It's almost like to become a chef, a Michelin star chef. You're eventually at the start, you're going to cut your hand. And that's where he is really and truly. I expect you to be outside your comfort zone. It's not that I get more pleasure in him struggling there, but I like to see you against grown men and things more than the 23s because that presents a full sense of importance. Exactly. So it's one of them. If he's genuinely going to be given an opportunity and play proper minutes when the chance comes, then by all means staying around the first team. But I think he's got a good thing going for him at Middlesbrough. He's playing. The manager wanted him from his days at his former club. He's learning, and I think even when you look at his metrics, he's getting better at pressing. His passing is getting better. He's still, for me, still needs to show a bit of his personality. Still not shooting enough and things, but these are things that are natural. Where are you at with Gab Jesus? I've had this comment up for a while. Are you taking him? He did work with Arteta prior. I don't know where I am with him. I'll be real.
Same. I'm so torn with him.
This is it.
The one thing I would say about him is that do I think we've seen him reach his potential at this stage of his career, or do I feel like there's more to come? And I think 100% there's more to come from him. I won't be surprised if he's considered one of the top strikers in the Premier League if he's still in the league in 5 years' time, for example. I feel like he can get there. Sometimes you watch him, you think, oh, brilliant, unbelievable footwork, this, that, the other. Other times you watch him and you think to yourself, you're still too raw. It's
a bit like Richarlison for me. Sometimes I think you're a baller, then I think you're a dud. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, honestly. So I'm not convinced. But then you hear of, I feel like a lot of people hold the opinion that he's one of the most underrated strikers in the league. When you're playing for Man City, it's amazing to me, since Pep took over, even with Sergio Aguero in his squad, has a striker ever really looked like a world beater at Man City?
Not really.
And I think to myself, maybe then it's more about Pep's style of play, how he utilizes, forward players rather than just a striker. And, perhaps it's that. But then I think to myself, a real top quality striker. If I imagine Harry Kane going to Man City, I think he'll look incredible. And
they're linked with Haaland as well, which could help us with Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit torn. I'm thinking, am I not sure about Gabriel Jesus because of Guardiola's system? But then I check myself by saying, if Haaland or Kane played there, no, they'd still look incredible. So I don't know, bro. I'm like just really, really. If Arsenal took a gamble on him, I'd be happy. I think he's a good player. I really do, but I'm not sure he's like the killer that we need. But other people, let me know.
Lastly, without the strikers, I've got to ask, man, Lacazette new deal. I'm going to ask you this every time until he's actually gone, man. Any opportunity? Where are you at now with Lacazette? New deal?
No, because he's not going to accept 1 year, is he? If he gets 3 years somewhere else, he's going to take that. He's not going to accept 1 year. I wouldn't give him 2 years. And he's, I'm talking about killer and all of this sort of stuff. That's not him.
Respectfully, yeah, that's not. Do you feel? Let me ask you, Lacazette. Do you feel opinions are not balanced? Because I do think Arsenal, don't get it twisted, we've been poor for years. I do think the bar's been on the floor. Like, shout out to Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, they've done well, but the bar hasn't been that big for them to climb over. I think with Lacazette, it's a mixture of us finding balance in the team, what's happening with Aubameyang. I personally feel I'm not understating what Lacazette brings, because sometimes we've had strikers that score and don't do that, but I do think we overcompensate because he's not a goal scorer with his pressing and the rest of it. Do you think there's an overcompensation with him?
Yeah, in terms of focusing on the other areas other than what a striker absolutely has to do.
Essentially, yeah.
But then let's remember, France won the World Cup with Giroud playing in just, I think, every game and not scoring a single goal. Sometimes you can have a system striker, but I feel like Arsenal are getting to a point where we're winning the expected result,
Facts. We're getting some consistency in that regard.
Yeah.
Facts.
So like, if you look at it over the course of the season, our expected goals have gone up, expected goals conceded have gone down. And then you look at a game and you think generally, yeah, we do make enough chances to even accommodate a striker that is a system striker and not very clinical. But I've seen too many games where he's had a chance in the box, get that shot off, get it on target, test it, find the back of the net, and he even misses the target. So I feel like, yes, we do talk about the other things and we perhaps do overcompensate, but the thing that he has to be good at, finding that target, not even scoring, just hitting the target, he's so far off where he needs to be there that it's not hard to find someone in the market that will do all the other stuff that he does and also be better when it comes to that killer instinct in the box. That, coupled with the contract issue that I don't think he'll take a 1 year contract, for me, tells me that he'll be leaving this summer.
You said it there, man. And for me with Lacazette, I'd like to be careful of the words declining and things, because it doesn't mean you're a bad player. I just think we're seeing an evident decline. Like, I could be wrong, but Lacazette's never been blisteringly quick. He had a reasonable amount of pace. You're seeing the lack of pace. Like you said, when he's in the box, it's not good enough for me. He's not in the box enough. And because Lacazette drops in, he ain't got the pace to get up there. And, one thing I did like about Lacazette, he hasn't scored many goals for Arsenal, but he was almost the king of the acute finishes, shifting it onto his right foot and making a quick decision. I think he's losing that. I don't know if agility would be the right word, but that ability to kind of shift it and things. So it's almost a natural decline. And for me, obviously, it's a game. Ultimately, it's a results-driven business. The man doesn't score enough, and if goals aren't necessarily important, which let's face it hasn't been. Goals win games, but we went from January to now, we're doing okay. Surely the catchment area now becomes bigger, because it's not just necessarily goals. We're looking for general play, etc., etc. Where are you at with Saliba? Because obviously a lot of song and dances are made over Saliba. He's played 20 odd times for Marseille. He's playing in Europe. He's been called up to France. He's got 2 caps with France now. Where are you at with him, man? Do you want to see him get an opportunity? Will he get an opportunity? How do you think you integrate 3 of them centre halves?
Yeah, I'm desperate for him to get an opportunity. As far as I'm concerned, if you're talking about top 5 hottest defensive prospects in Europe, central defensive prospects in Europe, he's in that conversation. He a lot of clubs would want him. And earlier on we were talking about when I gave you the central midfield options, and you said Jude Bellingham for the future. That's what people would be saying about Saliba. They'd be like, yeah, I'd love Saliba. Look at the longevity in the future. So I'm a bit worried now that he hasn't had the best time at Arsenal. I don't think that he necessarily feels like he's been treated in the way that he should have. Some of his previous comments, right? Hopefully he's kind of drawn a line under that and hasn't held a grudge. If he has held a grudge, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in sort of looking for assurances now, because that's still playing on his mind. And if he doesn't get those assurances, wants to leave. And I don't think Arteta can give him those assurances. I think the way it'll work is that when you look at who our reserve right back is, Cedric has done well, but I don't think that he's, long term.
He's not the answer. Let's be honest. He's not. He's done well in the last 4 or 5 games, and I don't want to, hold a guy accountable for the previous ones. You're only as good as your last game, but I'm sure he's made 40, 50 appearances. He's had 5 good games at a crucial time. Shout to him. But that just tells me that's someone I can't necessarily believe in. So you're right with that.
I feel like with the 3 central defenders next season, just like we saw Ben White going on the right-hand side for England in this international break, it may well be a case that internally they'll have a view on if Tini's injured or if Tomiyasu's injured, out of those 3, who's the best person to fill in at left back, who's the best person to fill in at right back, and they'll get plenty of minutes, those 3 centre-backs, to cover those wing-backs and also the other 2 centre-backs. There'll be injuries, there'll be suspensions, and eventually everyone will get minutes.
There's more games as well.
Assurance. Yeah. When people want an assurance, they want to know, first game of the season, everyone's fit, I'm being picked. And I don't think Arteta can give Saliba that right now.
All right, so let's paint a picture, yeah, because I like where this is going. All right, you're Saliba or his advisors. You've, like I said, you've just played for France. You're doing, you've got solid experience. It's now July. Arteta's taking you into his room. You're talking about how you're going to be used. Now, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm sitting there and saying, give me a headache because I've just spent a massive outlay on the centre half. We've got a good partnership there. Come and give me a headache. What sort of assurances are you asking for Saliba? Bearing in mind there's a contract thing. What are you saying if you're his advisor or him to the gaffer or who the necessary parties?
I want to know that he's starting in the Premier League. That's what it comes down to. Because if I'm his advisor, I'm going to be saying to him right now, your work this season has raised your stock immensely. Where you were at the start of the season in terms of European reputation compared to where you are now, you've really, really raised your stock. You're probably going to be in the Liga Team of the Year. You are one of the hottest defensive young prospects, in Europe. If you now go to Arsenal and get limited game time, and then we look at where you are this time next season, at the end of next season, your trajectory wouldn't have carried on in the way that we need it to. You'd be, your stock would have fallen. So why do that? Go somewhere. Because even if it's Marseille, look, Marseille aren't... I'd rather be playing for Arsenal than Marseille, but I'd rather be starting for Marseille than getting limited minutes for Arsenal. So I feel like if I was his advisor, that would be my priority. But I think realistically, this is what Arteta's job is to convince him, get the stats and all that out, to convince him there will be minutes through this season. Even if he says, I'm not giving Ben White any assurances, Gabriel any assurances, or Saliba any assurances, the way he can phrase that to him is that I'm giving you just as many assurances as the other 2,
Facts.
And then they'll all get minutes. So I don't think we need to worry. It's about whether Arteta can fill him with that confidence in light of what's gone on before.
Facts.
That's the tricky thing.
For me, it's a case of does Arteta rate him, because he sent him out on loan and then spent 50 million on Ben White, who, let's be honest, as good as he is, we bought him off the back of one season. And I don't think Saliba was his signing. Saliba's seen him up close. I'm a bit on the fence with Saliba. I don't really like our handling of him, but I don't think he needed to play when fans were saying it. I could understand him going. On one hand, I think, Arteta, he's saying, we need to build our foundations. I can't really give you game time. Go out on loan, get more experience. Whatever I tell you to work on, come back in the summer doing that, which he has, and then we'll make something happen. And I do think without him making an appearance here, there'd be an issue. But on the other hand, if he's convinced with Gabriel and Ben White, if he's convinced with any other options within the side, he might say, you know what, he weren't my player. He was signed for 27 million. As you said, one of the hottest commodities. People are looking at him. We might say, do you know what, let's sell him, slap that extra money on a strike or whatever. And yeah, fans would be upset, but we'd ultimately get on with it. So I literally think it's the balance. For me, if I'm Saliba, I'm going to Arsenal for an honest conversation. I might even give it until January, but I would not sign a new deal until the promises are actually correlated, because there was the one thing for me why I didn't understand, if you can remember, there was a big song and dance about Saliba signing. We saw the pictures from when he was a kid in an Arsenal shirt. He was we all tracked the plane and whatnot. So it'd be a shame for him not to get an opportunity. And I do feel he could do it. I think with them 3, I think with Tomiyasu's ability to play there could be that. I would actually like to see Ben White play a bit more at right back as well, because it helps Tomiyasu, who's injured. I think the only way we kind of see that is if we get centre mids, because as you see, we overcompensate, in my opinion, with our centre backs. Like we need, listen, they can play out from the back, etc. But we ain't got that midfielder. And as you said, with giving him the data and things, I would sit there and say, listen, it's all about the blueprint. You saw what City did. They've got 3 quality centre backs. Anyone who's not doing their job doesn't play. You know,
Exactly,
Smith Rowe's been out the team at times. I would be giving that. Saka, if he messes about, could lose his place. So there's decent competition for places. And I do think, I'm not gonna lie, I think Arsenal fans in general are scared of players having to fight for shirts. We talk about we need depth, etc. And then we always do, like people said, don't sign Odegaard because we've got Smith Rowe. We need all of these things. As you said, there's 38 Premier League games. However many games get inserted into the fixture calendar next year, by God's grace, we're in the Champions League. So and also I think it makes Arteta's job easier of keeping people happy. And I do think Arteta has, as much as you can say, a happy camp for 25. Like, everybody's not playing and everyone wants to, but it's a collective now. I don't see people kind of throwing their toys in the pram and things like that, man.
But
so
with Saliba,
I
think with Saliba, I am worried, but I feel like it's not that difficult for Arteta to convince him that he will get the minutes and to really make him believe that. Because, as you said, look at City, Stones, Laporte, Diaz, all there. 3 top quality centre backs. At Liverpool, you've got Matip, Van Dijk, obviously Kanate, and Gomez. So they've got the 4 there. And I just kind of feel like with Champions League, even if it's not Champions League, we're going to get in the Europa League as a minimum. Otherwise, my God, it's going to be a drop off.
Serious question marks. Yeah.
Even flipping Conference League. Look, we'll be in Europe next season. So the point is, there's those 38 games, there's the cup games, there's all of that. We're back to a proper padded out season rather than what we've got this season, where we can just about cut it with a threadbare squad. Literally. So he will get the minutes. And I feel like if there's an injury to a defender next year, Rob Holding is great for 15 minutes at the end of a game. He's not good for 15 games. Saliba has to stay, and I'll be really frustrated if we don't get to, see him in an Arsenal shirt.
That would be the annoying thing. Obviously, moving away from that, how do you feel about Cedric coming into the team? How did you feel about Leno? Obviously, there's a potential that Leno might actually start against Crystal Palace, with it being touch and go with him. So where are you at with Leno and Cedric? And then we'll move on to Partey and Crystal Palace.
Cedric deserves credit. He hasn't had an illustrious career. It's not that other big clubs have kind of gone in. With Zaha, for example, we spoke about him earlier. Man United signed him because there's something special there.
Something there,
Didn't work out for him, but that's fine. You can still see that there's something special there. That's never been the case with Cedric. He's not a special player. He's just, fairly dependable.
Just steady Eddie.
Pardon?
He's just a steady Eddie, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes with these steady Eddie types, when they come to a big club, then they can't deal with that pressure. But actually, I think what he deserves credit for is that he's actually dealt with the pressure. He hasn't tried to do too much. He's not overawed. He's just being that steady Eddie, which is great. You need some of them in your squad. All of the best teams have had some of those, right? So he's one of ours. Doesn't mean he's the solution long term.
Guy we was talking about with Gary Neville made a career out of being that, really.
Yeah, exactly. Gary Neville was not a special player. And even in that Gary Neville team, there's like Darren Fletcher's and John O'Shea
and Wes Browns, and even I really think he was good, but Park Ji-sung was really only brought in for big games under Sir Alex Ferguson. Exactly, so there was different members of a squad there.
And with Arsenal, like, you get your Gilles Grimondis and your Nelson Vivas. It's like, these players don't live long in the memory, but actually they serve the squad purpose at the time. Even an El Neni now, he's like that as well. Really does serve that squad purpose. So I think Cedric deserves a lot of credit, because all your job is, as that type of player, is to come in and make sure the fans aren't bemoaning the injury or whatever it might be to the guy that you're replacing. And we're not doing that. So he's doing his job. Well done to him. And Leno, I've got a lot of time and admiration for. I think he's been an absolute consummate professional throughout his time at Arsenal. He's
been a bit disrespected in my opinion now.
Pardon?
He's been a bit disrespected in my opinion now. It's like when he's had to come in, people are behaving like he's a dud. He's not a dud. He's just Ramsdale's better than you.
Absolutely. Let's not forget, when Ramsdale came into the team, people were surprised by it. And that's because Leno had done absolutely fine. We knew he wasn't a good distributor, but he was a brilliant shot stopper. And certainly people were happy with him, and he's had some really good spells. But what I love about him is that throughout he's been professional, hasn't said anything, no nonsense with him, just a good model professional.
Do you think it's an age thing, bro? Sorry to cut you. Do you think it's an age thing? Because I look at Ainsley Maitland-Niles, obviously every couple of games. 1 minute he's happy, then he wants to leave. As you said, Cedric had to wait. I think someone said a stat like he had to wait 5 months to start for this club this season, and he's taking his chance. As you said, Leno, he's lost his place for Germany. There's been no move. He's come in and done well. Would you say it's an age and experience thing then?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Look, generally, I feel like young English players, when it comes to discipline and professionalism, I wouldn't rank them. You know, if you were to talk about discipline and professionalism by demographic,
Yeah,
18 to 21 English is not
Facts.
what I would put at the top of the league table.
Facts.
28 to 30-year-old German, that's like, and I think he's living up to that a little bit.
Apart from Ozil, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is something, honestly, I feel about young English players. There's often a lot of lack of discipline. When I look at some of the young players from Europe that Arsenal have had, like Hector Bellerin, Cesc Fabregas, I don't see much nonsense, if any nonsense with them. Like, it's quite surprising me. Bentner was an exception. But, Jack Wilshere doing something silly, and Chesney, he was like almost English in the sense that he'd been
the exceptions to the rule, man. You can't save everyone 100%.
Yeah, but then equally, like someone like Aaron Ramsey, really good professional. But I just kind of feel like Bernd Leno is staying true to type. He's an experienced German professional national team goalkeeper, and he's not Phil Foden, like messing around, nights out and all that sort of stuff. So, I think that's what it comes down to.
Would you say that comes down to Arteta keeping a happy camp and them actually seeing what we're trying to do? Because I look at it a bit like boxing, is that you've got to remove your ego. Like, the collective always comes first.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be upset about not playing, but I just think when you can see that we're fighting for Champions League, I think people can put their own personal rubbish to the side. It's when we're disillusioned and Willian is starting ahead of about 3 wingers who deserve it. I think there's an issue there. So do you think it's in part because of what we're doing and them things there, or?
No, I think it's down to Bernd Leno. I wouldn't give anyone else credit for Bernd Leno and the way he's carried himself other than himself. And I feel like so on that specific Leno point, that's about Leno. But I feel like there is a truth to what you're saying. Arteta has managed to create a happy camp. The easiest way to do that is referencing what Pepe did when it's a winning team. That's what really counts. When it's not a winning team, then players are thinking, why can't I get in?
Why can't I get an opportunity? Yeah.
But when it's a winning team, fair enough.
So what do you make of Partey? Because obviously Partey's having, since for me, I genuinely believe in his personal life, you obviously seen he's found a new religion. He's forgiven himself for mistakes. I think there's a lot of things he's done off the field. Forget football, just as a man, that allows him to do what he's doing. I think he's forgiven himself for whatever. And now he's, everything he's doing is just touching to gold. So what do you make of Partey? And what do you make of, the Crystal Palace game, man? Because it's a 10-game showdown now. Yeah. Palace away under the lights on Monday. Scary stuff.
Just on the religion thing, I just, I haven't said anything about it. Right? I haven't tweeted about it or anything like that because...
So many people must have been asking you.
Yeah, loads. And I haven't. People must have been surprised, but I'll just break my silence on that. Once, Ronnie O'Sullivan was in the papers for converting to Islam, right?
Yeah.
And then he had to come out and deny it. And I thought to myself, what the hell has happened for that to get twisted, yeah? And, when you become a Muslim, you have to recite the Shahada. It's like, your allegiance, and then you say, no God, but Allah, and, the Prophet is the messenger and stuff. They took him to the front of the mosque. The cheeky Muslims took him to the front of the mosque. And they kind of went through this with him. He doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know if they were trying to force this on him or something. And then that's it. He said this, like, maybe out of respect, just to be polite, whatever it might have been. And then, when I saw that, I thought to myself, never, ever fall in this trap again. Always wait for the person to come out and confirm it. I haven't seen anything from Thomas Partey on converting to Islam. So that's why I haven't said anything about it, because this could just be rumors. People get.
You're right, He actually hasn't said a damn thing.
Yeah, I would have thought he would come out.
Now that you said that, he actually hasn't said anything. Maybe it's, to be fair, maybe it's nothing for the public. There's nothing to be ashamed of, but maybe he's just, some people like that. But you're right.
I'm at Palace on Monday. I'm going to be looking at his warm-up. If he's doing that, I know it's nonsense. If he's doing that, I know it's real. So I need to see it from the horse's mouth in a way. But listen, since he rated himself as a 4 out of 10, he's been wicked.
Different gravy, innit?
Yeah, there was a couple of games after that he still was kind of 4 out of 10, but since then, like, honestly, he's been brilliant. And even Saka, since Saka said Arsenal fans deserve better, we've got better. When our players take to social media, at least we see an improvement, you know. So yeah, I'm so happy with Thomas Partey. I think he's been brilliant, and I think if I'm not mistaken, he scored against Nigeria, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored the goal that sent his country to the World Cup, man. What a dream that must be. Crazy.
Yeah, Thomas Partey right now, everything he touches turns to gold, and yeah, delighted for him. He seems like such a nice guy as well. So really happy for him. And Palace, going to be tough. Patrick Vieira's on a high, Hall of Famer, doing well at Palace, but I think we'll nick it. I do.
And last one, I would say, obviously, our next 6 games are very crazy, but the next 3 games, you've got Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Brighton. What sort of point? Obviously, I think I can answer that for you. We should be aiming for 9 points, but what do you think we're going to get from those 3? In fact, what do you think we can do from the next 6, really, to round this up?
All right, I'm gonna have to pull up the fixtures as well. So from what I remember, Southampton is away, Brighton's at home. So yeah, so Palace away, Brighton at home, Southampton away. I'm saying 9. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying 9.
From the first 3, 9 from the first 3, yeah.
Yeah, we have to, because we've got very difficult fixtures after that, where I have been saying Arsenal don't need to win those games as long as we make sure that the teams that we're fighting against, United, Tottenham, Chelsea, West Ham, blah, 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 as long as they don't get 3 points in those games. That's when they become 6-pointers. If cancel each other out, it's okay for the team that's on top. It's not okay for the team that needs to catch up. They all need to catch up. So people will see for themselves. In those games, if it's a draw with 10 minutes to go, it won't be Arteta making the attacking substitutions. There will be containing substitutions. It will be the other teams. The onus is on them. Arsenal need to win all the other games and stop teams taking points against us, and we'll be fine. So 9 out of 9 for the first 3. And then look, Chelsea away, it's a tough game. We can't deny that. I'd have to see whether that game week is either side of a Champions League fixture for them. I don't know that at this point. I'd love it if it is. But we have to avoid defeat there.
You're right.
With Man United, I want to win from that game.
Bro, I'm happy you said that. That's one game I want to win, because I think United are always quite shoddy against us. They always scumbag a win. And for me, I'm upset with that Old Trafford. We drop points from a winning position. That's the one, respectfully. I'll take a point, but I want to see us win that Man United. I'll be real with you, look.
Yeah, look, I personally think if we were to predict all of the games for all of the teams involved in the top 4 race, and we were to say Arsenal draw the 3 away games against Chelsea, West Ham, and Tottenham, we beat Man United, and then we plot out all of the other teams' games as well, I think Arsenal will finish in the top 4. That, for me, is what we need to do to make sure that we do the business. So let's not lose any of those games. And yeah, look, some people might say it's better to sort of win 3 and lose 1 rather than win 1 and draw 3. But it's about not giving any other team a sniff and just winning the other games. So as long as we don't lose, that's what I'm wanting.
You said it there, man. Real last question now. I need to let you go. Score prediction for Palace. I'm going to go with 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal.
So there we have it, people.
Yeah.
And obviously, when this is on YouTube, people, make sure you're hitting Mo's what would you call it, title, and then subscribing to him. Obviously, appreciative to everyone that's here. Anything to come? Obviously, when the games are back, well, on Monday evening, you'll see my post match on his channel and a bunch of others and things like that. You got anything to come for this week, or in general, is it just a case of waiting until Monday and beyond? Yeah,
it'll be waiting until Monday. My post-match reaction from Selhurst Park. Love that stadium. And then my 5 at 5 the next day on the Tuesday. So yeah, look out for that. So there you have it, people. 5 at 5, a bunch of post-game reactions and things like that. So yeah, there'll be a bunch of things and whatnot, people. So yeah, you lot, make sure you're following Mo on YouTube. If you're watching this on the YouTube replay, then make sure you're clicking the title and subscribing to him. So yeah, man, Mo, thank you for doing that, man. Let you get off, man. I've been, I've messed up your day somewhat, man. It's always a pleasure.
Love for coming through, broski, cool. Man. Appreciate
Take care.
It. Peace. Safe. Oh. Why didn't I close it? All right, people. Do you know what? Yeah, Mo had to keep it moving. I guess I'll stay here for a couple seconds. Any more questions? I don't know if I answered this, but Zaha is injured, broski. Zaha is injured, but when we played them at our place, he was not injured. I mean, he was injured, and we still struggled. Crystal Palace, South London, under the lights. Vieira's buzzing. They're gonna want to. Everybody. Arsenal have a target on their heads. Like you should. Everyone wants to beat Arsenal. In the same way when we was rubbish, everyone saw it as 3 points. Everyone sees this as, okay, this team's really improved. Let's go and earn the right to play. And one thing I like about Palace, them man, they are fearless. I think every player in a positive way is fearless. I think Patrick Vieira has transmitted fearlessness, respecting opposition, but go out there, and their players are going to be buzzing. Gallagher been doing well, going to come back, getting another England cap. Gurhey, the same. Tariq Mitchell, even on the best of days, Tariq Mitchell's had a decent game at left back for a hot minute against us for Crystal Palace. So we're going to need to earn the right. And for me, I want to beat Palace beyond the obvious, because I look at, regardless of this season, people, and there's been other games, City, Chelsea, them things there, but there's a couple of games I'm very disappointed we never got full points from, if I'm honest with you. Crystal Palace at home because we was winning. Manchester United away because we was winning. Everton away because we was winning. Brighton away because I don't feel we turned up. We was quite lucky they couldn't break us down. Burnley at home because we couldn't break them down. And Crystal Palace because we dropped points from winning positions. If you remember, Lacazette kind of saved the day for us, really. So it's kind of brazy. And again, this is it now, isn't it? Like, we've done well. Hopefully we can see it through to the end and get Europe. Regardless, we can be proud of ourselves, but there's no point being in a race. Like, think about it. If you're in 100 meters, you're dipping, you're leading it, and then at the end you drop, and then you end up 5th, 6th, or whatever. You're not gonna care that, oh yeah, on the first bend I was there, I was there. But what about that? You're gonna learn. You're going to want to learn from it and improve and the rest of it. But you get it, people. You get where I'm going with that one. So I want to beat Palace beyond the obvious because of that, man. Premier League shareholders met today and discussed a range of matters. Clubs agreed to change the rules relating to substitute players. From next season, clubs will be permitted to use 5, and it's needed, man. I think that was. I don't want to say anything good's come of COVID, obviously, with what was happening in the world, but I think the game needs 5 subs, especially if you're going to have a bunch of pointless international friendlies, a bunch of, the mad pre-season. There's just too many games in the calendar list, innit? And I like the way that they had it in that you can't just, in the last 10 minutes of a game, just roll on 5 subs. You've got 3 opportunities to do such, obviously, plus the concussion and the concussion sub that's technically there. So yeah, it is what it is. Man said, big up, very good content today. Been tuned in since 10 and all the conversations have been good. Hey, again, I appreciate that. As I said, there's no point me sitting here waffling day in, day out if you lot don't like what you're seeing or if you lot don't support. So generally across YouTube and Twitch, even though Twitch, you lot are my favorite, I appreciate you lot, man. Already happening in La Liga, so but it's happening everywhere, bro. Ain't it? If you're saying it's in La Liga, it's definitely happening in Europe. Definitely where the Europa League is concerned, because you said Barca. I'm sure Barca brought their subs on last time they played. I'm sure Germany got that as well. So we're just playing catch up. And like I said, for me, what was it, last season, technically, behind closed doors? I think it's needed, man. And rather selfishly, you can kind of keep the squad a bit happier, innit? Great stream to celebrate completing the second year uni coursework. Shout out yourself for dusting off your uni coursework. By God's grace, you get, what's the highest you can get at uni? Like a first, innit? By God's grace, you get all of that in whatever degree you're doing and whatnot. The Henry and Burkamp duo, man. Without you lot, it'd be dead, man. Shout out to Mo for cutting through as well. Same way, shout out to Mo. Shout out to Tapping Tobes yesterday. If all goes well, people, Wednesday we should have She Knows Arsenal. Jess, she's great at what she does. I should have her on Wednesday. I'm trying to get Art DeRoche. You come on, man. You know who he is, the athletic reporter and that big timer. I know he's had COVID as well. So I hope if you're listening, I hope you're getting through that. So yeah, man, trying to do a thing for you lot. I couldn't find a Crystal Palace content creator, I tried, I really did. But yeah, man, it's a mad thing. Straight from DG to rants and then back to DG. Great content from the Twitch community on my day off. V Dylan, again, just the very fact that you spent your time here, I appreciate that, man. I'm not just saying it because it's a good thing to say. I genuinely am. We're all busy. There's a million things. And like I tell you lot, honestly, if I wasn't me and I saw myself, I wouldn't listen to me, car. I just care about my brethren's opinions and people I know in football. And then I'll go on a Sky Sports and these sort of things. I don't necessarily want to listen to people. So that makes me appreciate it more, because my own viewing habits are not like this. I wouldn't give me a chance, really. So I really am appreciative. And I'm appreciative of the fact that I always tell you lot, man, you lot, like, life is worth living now, bro. Like, bro, Monday, it doesn't matter if it's Monday morning, Sunday night. Genuinely, it's a pleasure to be here on YouTube and Twitch. And so it's an opportunity to live life on my own terms, in a way that I want, and something that fills my heart. And for me to know that, you know, whether it's Dylan on his day off, whether it's someone doing their coursework, whether it's somebody at work, you know, whether it's crazy, man. It's just mad, innit? It's just mad. Like, I appreciate that. You have to judge your life on the value you provide for others or to others, innit? And all I can do is say thank you for your consistent support, people, man. So, yeah, I'm back at 4:30. I think it's Football Manager settings. I'm going to go eat a quick pasta and we go again, innit, people, man. Appreciate that as well. Keep up the grind, bro. Sky is the limit. I appreciate that, man. I do. I definitely do, man. You know, it is the limit, bro. We started on an iPhone, bro, and we're not all the way there yet. One day we'll have some crystal clear business and whatnot. But, bro, from a phone, bro. And it weren't even this phone. It was a fucking phone that didn't, like, the speaker was bust. If you look, big up you lot, the first days, all the crackling. That's when you really had to, like, go is what I was doing, because you would hear that crackling. And now, look, man, we're fucking known by Ian Wright and shit. Pardon my French.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. And that's thanks, them things there are thanks to you guys, people, and good people in this world, man. So, yeah, big up you lot. Stay blessed, stay safe. I'm back in an hour and 15 minutes still. Peace.
You always just that active red light, defending. I think it's like